Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys for Wednesday, February the 5th. Ian Cameron, Mikey back in the house, and Alex B. Smith will be back along in just a few moments as well. We're ready to talk Wednesday night NHL. 3 games on tap in the NHL. We're down to 5 days of NHL action before the Four Nations face-off break. So we're getting closer to the mini break in the season. We will have an official schedule probably Friday later this week announced for you of the exact schedule of dates and shows that we will have throughout the Four Nations face-off tournament. The plan right now is we will be here every game day for the Four Nations face-off. So every day during that tournament that there is a game taking place or are multiple games taking place, we will be here to break those down. And obviously the days with no games, we will not have a show. So that's going to be the premise of how we schedule the Ice Guys show throughout the Four Nations. But we will announce it officially, the exact dates that we'll be doing the show. And obviously, if it's a Monday to Friday show, it'll be 2 p.m. Eastern. And if it's a Saturday or Sunday show, it'll be noon Eastern, the usual times for weekday and weekend. But busy Tuesday night, obviously, last night in the NHL. It started out from a betting standpoint for me really awful, quite honestly. But boy, it really got good late night. Late night really, there were a lot of things that went well for me in the late night hours that really started to chip away at the deficit from the early part of the night. And certainly in our group chat, man, what a night it was with the live bets. My goodness, it was a terrific, and that really helped all the live bets that came through for me last night as well. So it was all over the place type of night. Certainly was an entertaining night. That's the one thing, whether you win money or you lose money, it's still entertaining. I still we love hockey. I love watching hockey. People say to me, if you have a bad night betting, does it make it a bad night and an unenjoyable night watching the hockey games? And I always say no. I'd love it more if I was winning, clearly, but I love this sport. You guys know that, hockey, hardcore fan. Same with football. Those are the two sports where I could be down 10 units in one night, and if the games are good, I'm still going to enjoy them and enjoy that part of it, even if financially it's not going well. So that's the way I always see it. Buffalo Sabres take advantage of just an absolutely injury decimated Columbus Blue Jackets team. They beat the Jackets 3-2. I give Columbus credit, though. The battle was still there. I thought they, for as depleted and shorthanded as they were, I thought they played a solid road game, gave themselves a chance to win, but Buffalo gets the 3-2 win. That was a frustrating game because the over bifecta falls short, and I had the Buffalo team total, which I had a piece of as well. They can't get an empty netter, unfortunately for me, in the last minute. But Buffalo gets a 3-2 win there against Columbus. Tampa Bay, even another situation very much like Columbus, where Ottawa loses the game, but very, very admirable effort on a back-to-back against a rested Tampa Bay team coming off a loss to the Islanders, and Ottawa was still right there with them. And it was not an easy game for Tampa, but they do find a way, a 4-3 win over the Senators. Linus Ullmark makes his return. He actually was pretty solid. He did have to face 38 Tampa Bay shots. I thought he was pretty solid even in the losing effort, but Tampa gets the 4-3 win there over Ottawa. Pittsburgh, New Jersey, had to sweat this one out, but we cashed with Devils money line there. 3-2 shootout win over Pittsburgh. I'll say this, and I said this yesterday, I didn't think there was a massive gap between Jake Allen and Nico Dawes. And Nico Dawes, in my opinion, played very well last night, I thought, especially in overtime and in the shootout. He was really good in that part of the game for the New Jersey Devils. So give him a lot of credit. Credit to Sheldon Keefe, too, for giving him an opportunity. And certainly made the most of it as the Devils get a 3-2 shootout win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. This Washington Capitals team deserves so much credit, too. What a great win for them against the Florida Panthers last night, 6-3 over the Panthers, a team that is still, after that win last night, not lost 3 straight games all season long. They would have lost 3 in a row for the first time had they lost last night, but they did not. They get the job done. 6-3 win against Florida. Alex Ovechkin with the last goal too, the 6th goal into the empty net. I got to start betting that more. Alex Ovechkin last goal. I'm leaving money on the table. How many fucking times has it happened? Especially, and bet it live too, or some way. Because look, pregame, if you bet it, you're not always going to be sure Washington's going to have the lead late in the game, and we'll be in a situation where they're firing for the empty net. So it's probably something you could consider betting live as well, but certainly bet it in some way, because when he's on the ice and there's an empty net, they're going to look to him to get him the puck, and certainly saw it again last night. He's closing in on the record. I think he's 17 or 18 goals now away from it, and so he's closing in. He might get it done this season, quite honestly. But Washington gets the win 6-3, and again, just remarkable that we're into February now, and this Capitals team hasn't dropped 3 in a row. That's a testament to them and the kind of season that they're having. Boston shuts out Minnesota 3-0. Pretty solid, tidy win. One thing about Boston, we'll talk about them when they play the Rangers, because the goaltending in that game makes me think over. But the way Boston played last night makes you probably think they want to play this way moving forward. Tight checking, not give the opposition very much. A very, very dull, low chance, low event game. That might be what the Bruins are looking for. Jimmy Murphy was on Twitter X saying that this is probably the way they have to play if they're going to win games moving forward. So Boston with the 3-0 win there against Minnesota in that game. Islanders 2-1 against the Golden Knights. That's why I didn't trust Vegas last night. They've been bothering. Their play has bothered me for a long time, where I thought I still don't fully trust them. And they showed why I didn't trust them, as the Islanders get a 2-1 win there against Vegas last night. Edmonton 3-2 comeback win in overtime against St. Louis. This was frustrating because we had them in regulation. They win in overtime. We had the over by Fecta. It fell short. We had Edmonton team total over. It fell short. That was a rough pregame situation for me, wagering wise. But in the group chat, we did hop on Edmonton plus 750 with about 3 minutes left in the third period when they were down 2-1 at the time. And sure enough, I think like a minute later, they got the tying goal, and of course, McDavid with a beautiful, gorgeous apple and assist to Connor Brown for the overtime winner to give the Oilers the 3-2 win there in that game. Winnipeg blanks Carolina. How about Eric Comrie getting a shutout? Great job by him. They blanked Carolina 3-0 last night. In fact, there were a lot of shutouts. There's going to be a lot of teams in system plays in their next game. Minnesota, Carolina is going to be in it. And by the way, they're facing each other, Minnesota and Carolina, in their next game. So both teams off shutout losses facing each other tomorrow night, our Betcast night as well for Patreon members. Toronto 6-3 over Calgary. William Nylander gets a hat trick back, where actually he was born. His father, Michael Nylander, when his wife gave birth, it was in Calgary. He was playing with the Calgary at the time. Well, it's where William Nylander was born. So it was, I'm sure, very special for him to get the hat trick. He was great. Tavares was great. Matthew Knies was great again. Just absolutely outstanding for the Leafs last night. And you see the Leafs with Tavares and Knies back, how much better they are. The power play is suddenly clicking as well. These first 2 games against Edmonton and Calgary with them back in the lineup. So a nice 6-3 win over Calgary. And, Dustin Wolf has not given up 5 goals very often this season, but he did last night. So credit to the Leafs for a nice win and lighting up a goalie that's been hard to score against this season. Philadelphia, the good news, the shutout streak is over. They get on the board, but the bad news is they lose 3-2 to the Utah Hockey Club in overtime. That probably should have been a game I bet the draw, because you can't trust either team. Probably a good chance it was going to go to overtime, but nevertheless, Utah with the 3-2 win there. One of the best games of the night for me was Detroit-Seattle. We swept the board, Red Wings money line. We had first period over, full game over. Great results there. Cashed everything in that Detroit-Seattle game, which was nice to see. And of course, give Detroit credit too. That was a tricky spot. End of this road trip. Seattle's down 4-2, comes back, ties the game, but the Red Wings prevail and win it in a shootout. What a job to sweep that road trip. Patrick Kane with just an unreal shootout goal. Like, you talk about just ripped it off the backhand. It's like it was like a vapor trail right off his stick, right into the top part of the net. It was just an unbelievable. And he scored like that before in the show. How he gets it to go like that, it's just a remarkable display of skill and talent, in my opinion. And what a shootout goal that was. What a road trip for Detroit. It feels like it's going to be Fade City for them when they come back home for that first game because, a road trip like that and you come back home, you often lay an egg, but it's hard to go against Detroit right now. They got it going. Their offense is clicking, and that was a great road trip. They sweep Western Canada and Seattle. Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Seattle win all 4 games. Maybe Danny DeKaiser, our pal, friend of the show, has got to do all their games in the booth because he was on the television call for the entire road trip, and they win every game. So what a job by the Detroit Red Wings there, 5-4 in a shootout over Seattle. Seattle, stick a fork in them. They're done, 10 points back. And plus, there's a lot of teams that have games in hand on Seattle that are ahead of them in the Western Conference. So it's really looking bleak for them. It doesn't get any easier because the Leafs are coming into town tomorrow night to play Seattle. Vancouver shuts out Colorado. This is one of the more surprising results of the night just because Colorado's playing well. Vancouver's been inconsistent, but we have seen Colorado have some duds on the road before, and Demko was great, man. There was a sequence there where Demko made 2 or 3 just unreal saves in a row in the second period when it was 1-0 at the time. Could have totally flipped the game in Colorado's favor. But credit to Vancouver. They get the job done 3-0 last night, shutting out the Colorado Avalanche. Meanwhile, the Ducks upset the Stars 2-1 last night. We did take Anaheim first period to score a goal. First period over falls short, unfortunately. But Anaheim, great job by them and a milestone win for John Gibson as well last night, getting that win for Dallas. I think it was something about his 500th win, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Anaheim with the 2-1 win last night over the Dallas Stars. And then we wrapped up the night with a game that kind of drove me nuts at times because I'm like thinking, boy, if Montreal loses this game and Georgiev stones them, man, that's not a good sign. And after that first period, I'm like, how the hell do you get shut out in the first period by Alexander Georgiev? But nevertheless, they got the 2 goals in the second. They got it going. They took the lead 3-2. Toffoli ties it, and then a shorthanded goal. That's back-to-back games with a shorthanded goal for Yoel Armia for the Montreal Canadiens. And absolutely a huge goal for them to give them the lead, and they hang on for a 4-3 win, and they cash the show best bet for me in the process, Habs team total over 3.5. So it started out poorly. It ended really well. It was a good end of the night for me for the most part. And the live bets, I mean, we were cooking. The live bets really, really helped me out last night and made it much closer to break-even night than it could have been. Alex is back with us now. Alex, your thoughts on a crazy busy Tuesday?
Yeah, an insanely busy Tuesday. But like I said, one of those nights where when you have a lot of games, sometimes it's best to kind of, have your pregame limits a little bit lower, kind of tail some things off and look for some live wagers. And that really helped me out a lot last night. A lot of the pregame looks did not go well. A lot of those early first period overs came crashing down. We did cash with the best bet on Detroit, Seattle first period over. But, it's now getting to that approach. And I'm saying this kind of as a mental note to myself, but maybe for all of you, obviously you guys are following our plays here and there throughout the course of watching this program. Now is the time where I'm going to start kind of cutting back on certain plays. I'll start being a little more picky with the system play. For example, if you've noticed with my card, there's been some system plays I haven't touched pregame at all. I've waited in game, or I haven't even bet them in game. I've just completely passed on them. So now we're getting to that point. We got everybody at least 55 games, if you're 52 to 55 games. We have enough data now to where we can really start pinpointing a little bit more on certain things. But there's also developing, trends and scenarios and systems that have come up as well. We've been talking about this second period goal in first 5 minutes, goal in first 10 minutes. When you have a game that's 1-0 or scoreless, that's still been red hot. Like that's the new trend to look for. Now it's just as good of a trend to pinpoint as looking for a first period over in game, as far as I'm concerned. When you're talking about something that's hitting at a 60% clip just in the month of January. And so from the month of January, I should say. So when you have those kind of spots that are staking out live, you can kind of change how you're looking at your pregame perception. So you'll see some different looks from me heading into the weekend. Of course, as we get out of the break, I'll be looking at some more unders. I'll be looking at certain things where we're pinpointing to try to grab the draw in game, maybe as opposed to pregame. So we're getting a little more creative. But like I said, when you have nights like last night where you have a lot of crazy finishes, a lot of finishes come down to the wire, a lot of overtime games as well, we'll still be, peppering the board with the draw plays. Draw season is firmly in effect, as we saw 5 games go past regulation out of the 14. I think we'll continue to see that increase, especially as we get out of the Four Nations break.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, what I was doing last night, and people in the group chat know this, I was stringing together the 7 p.m. Eastern games that all had 0 or 1 goal scored in the first period. I was stringing them together in over 1.5 second period parlays, gift second period parlays, goal in the first 10, and they were hitting left and right. I mean, it was insane last night. Did it with the 4 7 o'clock games that were like that. What was it? Buffalo game, Tampa game, the Pittsburgh game. And there was another one too. I'm blanking on it, but they all went over in the second period, and they all scored a goal in the first 10 minutes. And we parlayed them all because obviously you can't lay the big prices pre-period with any of them. That was great. We did it with the 8 o'clock games, and I think they both hit. Winnipeg and St. Louis. There was a goal in the first 10 minutes of both of those games. We did it late with the San Jose and the Anaheim games. There was actually that was the one time it didn't, because you're right, Anaheim didn't have a goal in the second period, but we did have the second period over with Montreal San Jose, that game in the late night hours. So most of those bets, it was insane how good it was cashing. So something to look for. And we have our betcast exclusive to Patreon members coming up Thursday night, tomorrow night, and we're going to put this into action. You're going to see it on full, and the parlays are the way to go, because it's all about timing it. There's going to be times you're off the mark and the goal happens just before you bet it. You can string multiple games in a row that are at 7 o'clock where you have 1 goal or fewer in the first, string them together in a gift second period parlay or an over 1.5 second period parlay. That's the way to go. And boy, last night those bets were really going well.
And when you're talking about those, because we're talking about prices that are kind of out of our juice range, right? 135 to minus 180 if you're talking about an intermission for the second period goal in first 10 minutes. So now if you parlay those smaller and then you're watching 1 or 2 individual games, you can still pinpoint those individually and wait for that number to come down into a favorable range. If you parlayed it with another spot at minus 150, then you can make minus 125 or minus 120 your pinpoint range for that spot individually as well. You don't have to just necessarily go all in on a parlay. You can split up your units, use the parlay as a marker of sorts, and then you can make other live bets off of that as well. So there's a number of options, and like I said, I'm looking forward to that tomorrow to jumping in with you on some of these parlays.
No doubt. Mikey, how was the night for you? Your thoughts on what we saw on Tuesday?
Yeah, not a great night for me. It's been a weird 7 to 10 days. I'm either getting hammered like I did yesterday, then I'll come back and I'll win and I'll go 8-0 or 8-2. It's just been one of those
betting hammered, that is, not alcohol or liquor.
Yeah, betting hammered. So it's just been one good day, one bad day, one good day, one bad day. So I'm looking forward to this break of 2 weeks. Although when they come back, it's almost like it's going to be like a new season again for the first couple games. So that's going to be tricky. So it's kind of been back and forth for me betting wise, if I'm being honest. As far as the games last night, no disrespect to Buffalo and you, Ian, I see the Sabretooth mascot in the back. He is one of my favorite mascots, but Buffalo.
No, that's incorrect. That's actually a Ticat, Hamilton Tiger Cat.
I thought it was a Sabretooth.
No, Hamilton Tiger Cat. No.
Okay. Anyways. No. I mean, that was so predictable.
Little mascot friends, correct. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's a Ticat mascot. Yeah.
It was just so obvious what Buffalo was going to do yesterday. I mean, just too little, too late. It's nice that someone stood up and took a fight, but it's just like too little, too late. It's like when your mom yells at you for not cleaning the room for a week, and then you finally show up, hey, Mom, I finally cleaned my room after you got yelled at for a whole week. So it's just like, I don't know. I wasn't wasn't really too pleased or too surprised with what Buffalo did. I mean, I know next time, God forbid that doesn't happen to Tage again, but next time there's something dirty on the ice, I know Buffalo was going to respond, but it was a little too late yesterday. Boston, I'm calling them the bipolar bees this year. You don't know what you're going to get with them. Yeah, they'll blank Minnesota. I mean, just when you count them out, they win. Games you expect them to win, they don't. I have no Stanley Cup. I'm not Stanley Cup hopeful for the Bruins. I just want to see what they're going to look like with the dialed-in Swayman and the full defensive pairings back. I just want to see how they do. for a few weeks when it's all said and done. They're all back and healthy. We'll see. They may be like the New York Ambiens like a couple of years ago in the playoffs, where the Islanders just bored you to death, winning 2-1, 3-2 games. If that's what it takes, and that's what it takes. So interested to see what Boston does when they come back healthy. I'm impressed with what Ottawa did yesterday. I mean, on a back-to-back, they barely lost to Tampa, but Tampa was absolutely peppering them. I mean, that Tampa should have scored more than 4 goals yesterday.
I thought it was a great first start back for Allmark, considering how long he was away.
Yeah. I mean, he got peppered. I believe double-digit shots every period. They ended with 38. The Atlantic Division is going to continue to fluctuate standings-wise for the rest of the season. I mean, we have only almost every team just a handful of points separating each other. So, I mean, the wild card spots, the top 3 in the Atlantic, I mean, it's going to be an interesting end to the year with that. Detroit. I mean, I didn't see them sweeping the West Coast trip up in Canada, but like you said, we'll see what happens when they come back. But I would love for Detroit to continue this and get a spot in the playoffs. Hopefully not Boston's spot, but I'd like to see them in the playoffs.
I get that Jarek Rubel, our friend of the show, is into the premonitions and the folklore and all that says Detroit, 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 and he's a big Detroit fan because of that. And I know he's got a lot betting wise tied up in them, but it's still somewhat alarming to me as a Chicago guy that he's cheering for Detroit this hard. It's, how does Alex feel about that?
I've let him know that in a couple of chats that it's somewhat problematic. To be that much of a fan right now, but obviously, you know, it's money first. Obviously, when it comes to the betting aspect, but I mean, and rightfully so. It's a team that you want to pinpoint because they're hot right now. You know, and kudos to him for getting them at the right time. He had them a lot of futures at the beginning of the year, but certainly be able to pick off and grab spots at the beginning or during the year as they were kind of slumping a bit, and now catch fire with them on a streak like that. That's the name of the game. That's how you bet futures. Isolate a team that you find to get hot, and then go after.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, Detroit playing extremely well right now. And Jarek with another good call. He's doing his play-by-play online for radio streaming. So it's great to see that and doing a nice job with that. Hopefully we do a nice job with 3 games at our disposal betting-wise here on this Wednesday card. We'll begin with the Boston Bruins and the New York Rangers. We've got the New York Rangers minus 110 home favorites, 6 the total. Of course, the Rangers and the Bruins, they're in the mix here still. They're not fully out of it here. And as I say on the last few days, the Wild, Wild East. The Wild, Wild East. It's Wild, Wild East right now, more so than the Wild, Wild West in the wild card race in the NHL. And both of these teams are still not obviously out of it. And points are very important right now with both teams, the Bruins and the Rangers. Great shutout win for the Bruins last night, 3-0 over the Minnesota Wild. But now they travel to New York, back-to-back situation here for the Boston Bruins tonight against a Rangers team that obviously they played Saturday in Boston, and the Bruins got the better of the Rangers in that game. We'll see if the Bruins have a better showing here tonight in this matchup. Boston, believe it or not, has a very good record on a back-to-back this year. Very good. 5-1, which is very impressive. That being said, I don't know if I fully trust it tonight. Plus, we've got, obviously, Korpisalo in net, who, he's actually been okay at times, but, lately I think there's been some struggles. There's been some more issues in between the pipes, but he's expected to be in net. It'll be Igor Shesterkin here for the New York Rangers, which is confirmed. His last start was a rough one. He gave up 5 goals and a 6-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets, did Jonas Korpisalo. So we'll see how he fares here. And overall, Korpisalo through 5 starts last month in January, 3.24 goals against, .889 save percentage. Not great numbers in the month of January for Korpisalo here in this one. This is one of those games where, as far as I could see goals here, maybe a little small over by Fecta. Nothing strong for me in this game, but maybe a small over by Fecta. I think the Rangers team total over is what I like the most. I think it is a Rangers spot. They've got the rest advantage. It's short turnaround, rapid revenge situation for the New York Rangers in this game after losing in Boston on Saturday afternoon. So I think the Rangers do bounce back and win, but there's no way I could get there at minus 210 with the money line. So if you like the Rangers, it's probably a game where I'm just going to see, I think off the top of my head, most of these Ranger games, when they win, they score 4 goals. When they beat Vegas, they won 4-2. When they beat Philly, they won 6-1. When they beat Ottawa, they won 5-0. When they beat Utah, they won 5-3. Only that 1-0 win against Columbus is the only recent time when the Rangers won a game but did not score 4 goals. So I think if you like the Rangers, you play the team total. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Rangers team total over 3.5, right around even money. Alex, what do you think here? Bruins, Rangers.
I don't have anything in this side or total wise. As one person I'm isolating for bargain bin special, but this is going to be a pass pre-game on sides. This is something I will be looking for. Obviously, first leg of the TNT doubleheader, so I will be looking for some spots in game, but nothing on the board pre-game except for my bargain bin play, which I'll talk about a little bit later.
All right, there we go. So there you go. A little hint, bargain bin special coming your way from this game later on. Mikey, what do you think here, Boston and New York?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I would never lay a price like this on the Rangers. I just don't think they should be favored this high, but it's obviously a better spot for them. Boston played yesterday, and we have Korpisalo in net. Korpisalo's numbers, he's so hit or miss, but he hasn't been that great. I mean, he has on the road, if you just worry about how he is on the road this year, .860 save percentage, 3.69 goals against average. He's seen the Rangers a ton in his career when he was with Columbus, and he saw those Metro Division rivals all the time. His numbers are 3.51 against the Rangers, .873 save percentage. So just not good numbers at all. And now you got Igor, who's actually been mediocre at home this year, .899 save percentage and a goals against average right at 3. And his numbers against Boston aren't that great, .900 save percentage and a goals against average at 3. So I think we might have a shot here at a live over, hopefully at a 5.5 if we can get it, if there's no goals early on. I just don't know if I want to take the 6.5 over pregame. I do think we'll see goals tonight, but then again, we just 4 days ago, we saw the Bruins win 6-3 against the Rangers. So you know how it is. Sometimes when the first game goes over, the second goes under. I don't want to cap like that, but hopefully we'll see if we can get a better number live. Look for a Marchand point, assist, or goal. He loves this TNT spotlight. I'm sure Biz will interview him tonight. I believe he has 3 points in 3 games this year on TNT, 2 goals and assists. So if the number makes sense, look for Marshy, point, assist, or goal. He just loves the TNT spotlight.
You know who loves being back in New York too? JT Miller, man. He has been excellent in these 2 games. There's no denying. Even in the loss to Boston in his Ranger debut Saturday at TD Garden, he played great. 2 goals. He got 2 assists in the win against Vegas at home on Sunday. So he's been absolutely terrific already in just 2 games. And you can see he's the physical presence, forechecking. He's already he's communicating with his teammates out on the ice, trying to make sure everyone knows what they're doing out there. Leadership qualities already coming through. He's just a great competitor. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way when you because of the fact that, like I said, it rubs people the wrong way a little bit. His actions at times because, he gets on, teammates sometimes when things aren't going well, or he doesn't think they're playing well, but that's him. He's an intense competitor. What I'm going to bet here in this game is, plus 260 at Bet365, 2 points or more from JT Miller, over 1.5 points. He's had multi-point games in each of his first 2 games with the New York Rangers, 2 points in each game. So plus 260 for JT Miller to get over 1.5 points, I think is a pretty good way to go in this game. Whether it's 2 goals with 2 assists, a goal and an assist, it could come in. He's probably going to be in. He's already shown he's been in on a lot of the Rangers' offense here in the first 2 games since he's been there. So that's definitely a prop I'm most interested in here tonight, and certainly TNT spotlight game. He'll be wanting to play well here tonight on Broadway. All right, next up we've got Edmonton and Chicago. This is also TNT. For tonight, we've got Edmonton minus 280, road favorites 6.5. The total in this game, I think it's Kenny and Brian Boucher for Bruins Rangers, and I think it's Panger and Brendan Burke for the Oilers and the Blackhawks here tonight. You know what we like in this game, right? What could go wrong here with a team that's 17-2 to the first period over in their last 19 games, and what can go wrong with an Edmonton team that has gone 11-2 to the first period over in their last 13 games. And then Jonathan Davis pipes in our group chat that Calvin Pickard, who's going to get the start for Edmonton tonight, each of his last 10 starts have gone over the total in the first period. So how can this possibly fail us tonight? First period over, Edmonton and Chicago. Obviously, we're on it. No question about it. Over 1.5 first period. I think this could be a trifecta game. Both teams to score in the first period, I think, might be worth a look. Obviously, over 6.5, I think, gets there. Even though, as always, with these Chicago games, I like the first period over even more. And I'm going to throw it out there that I think Chicago scores in the first period. I'm also going to take that, which is when I got it, it was minus 116 at FanDuel earlier this morning. Chicago has scored in the first period in back-to-back games. This has been a long pattern for Chicago of starting games well and then kind of fading, as the game goes along. And I could see that happening once again here tonight where, with an Edmonton team riding in off a big comeback win against St. Louis last night in overtime, that maybe Chicago, a little lackadaisical early in the game. Edmonton possibly tonight. Chicago gets that early goal at home, which they've done, often. And certainly they did it on the last 2 games of the road trip against Carolina and Florida as well. So that's the approach for me. I really like a lot of the early stuff. Chicago to score in the first period. Now, this doesn't quite make the system play situation where it's minus 300 or greater. That's going to be an auto bet for me with the opponent, the big underdog to score in the first period. Edmonton's not quite at that price threshold, at minus 280 for that, but I still like Chicago to get on the board in the first period. And like I said, absolutely loving the first period over and the over trifecta as a whole as well. Both teams to score first period, full game over. Alex, Oilers, Blackhawks.
So I mentioned on the show yesterday, you probably should have bet this yesterday, the first period over. It was minus 130 at DraftKings, 135 at Caesars. Now you're going to have to wait, maybe a minute or two in game to try to even get 135. I'm seeing as high as minus 160 on the over 1.5. You could shop around and take a dabble with 2. I would advise that as well. If you can't find that 1.5 or don't have the ability to bet that live, over 2 is a fine option. I also like goal in the first 5 minutes, plus 164. I got that available at FanDuel. So that's first period goal in the first 5 minutes, plus 164 to go with the first period over, which of course I will be adding on in game as well, even though I have 130. And I also have both teams to score in the first period. Don't have full game over. There's a player I'm looking at with the Hawks. I might end up having 2 bargain bin plays because there's a couple of players I like with the Hawks to get goals tonight. So one of those I'll be talking about later. But the other one is Ryan Donato. I think Ryan Donato, and I've heard his name kind of mentioned potentially in some trade talks.
Yeah,
we might start to see him get a little hot now. So he's a guy who, like I said, even if he's not bargain bin range, I might have him a couple times here moving forward, and of course out of the break, having him anytime goal scorer. But there's another player I'll be talking about later as well.
No doubt. Yeah, don't put those bad thoughts in our heads there, Aaron. 0-0 into the first. Yeah, that would be funny for a second, but pretty sad otherwise. But like I said, no, it's just like I say, this has been, and it's not going to cash every time, but as long as we can go with not more than 2 or 3 losses in a row with this Chicago first period over, I'm going to be on it every game, as long as it doesn't get to the point, where where it loses 3 or 4 times in a row. Then I would consider maybe pumping the brakes and jumping off for good.
And here's the thing, because of the break, right? And I think are the Hawks sending anyone to the Four Nations tournament? I think they have one. Tara Vinan's the only guy I think playing. So this might be a spot where if we ride this the rest of the way and then coming out of the break, we don't bet it the first game and we just observe it. Because you could be starting a brand new streak out of what's been a 2-week break from the majority of that team. So that might be the way I look at it.
Yeah, exactly. How the break, kind of chops up this, run that we've seen here with the first period overs with Chicago will be interesting to see. But like I said, it's certainly been great. It's 17-2 for Chicago, first period over here in the last 19 games for them. And even for Edmonton, they've had the last night notwithstanding, obviously last night the first period stayed under for them, but we're still talking about for them 11-2 to the first period over in their last 13 games entering tonight. I'll get to props in a moment because like Alex, there's a lot of props I like in this game as well. Mikey, what do you think here, Edmonton, Chicago?
Yeah, third meeting this season. These games are averaging 7 goals per game, so that's pretty much why we see the over/under here at 6.5. Like you said, Edmonton off a come from behind win last night. I know Pickard sometimes gets dogged here and there, but he's been more than serviceable for Edmonton, and his road numbers have been pretty solid this year. 915 save percentage, 2.29 goals against average on the road. If you just dissect how his numbers are against Chicago, his goals against goes north of 3. But well, I'm with you guys. First period over. Like Alex said, if you didn't get it last night, it's pretty juiced right now. So you can look at the over 2 on MGM at plus 130. But I am on that over 1.5 and Chicago to score a goal in the first period. Chicago hasn't been that great on these TNT games. I believe this is their 4th time on TNT tonight. They did win. They did beat Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, but the 2 or 3 games previous to that, they lost. Also, Edmonton on back-to-back games, they're allowing over 3 goals per game. So I think you can get Chicago team total over 2.5 at even money or plus money, if I'm not mistaken. But if it's not broken, don't change it, whatever that quote is. So first period over and Chicago team total over a half now in the first period.
Yeah, I don't mind the 2.5 for the full game Chicago, but I definitely like the first period more because it seems like the better possibility is they score early than they score second, third period a bunch. That's been the pattern. Like they've scored early, and then sometimes it just you don't get much after that. Like look at Carolina and Florida, the last 2 games for Chicago, is a perfect example of that. Yeah, Soderblom, of course, in net for the Chicago Blackhawks tonight, and obviously Pickard. Not confirmed, but it will be him on the back-to-back for Edmonton. As far as props go, yes, indeed, of course. People are on it in the chat talking about it. I think he's worth a look, too. He didn't score last night, but he still has 2 in the last 4 games for the Oilers. Corey Perry, playing with Draisaitl and McDavid. Corey Perry is absolutely worth a look as far as prop goes there. Arvidsson, the Nuge, and Hyman are on the second line. It looks like it's Jeff Skinner, Noah Philp, Kasperi Kapanen on the third line. Podkolzin dropped to the 4th line. It's about time. Hasn't been producing enough, in my opinion, with Janmark and Connor Brown there. So that's the setup there for the 4 lines there for Edmonton.
I wish we could bet on a Gordie Howe hat trick because I would totally take a shot with that with Corey Perry tonight.
Yeah.
I just got that feeling.
Yeah, he's been ornery lately, too. Not that he ever isn't, but lately I noticed he's been crashing the net, crashing the crease, getting in the goalie's face again. And there was a couple scrums with him the last night with St. Louis, the Toronto game a little bit. So definitely something to keep in mind here. There's a lot of good props, I think, even on the Chicago side. We talked about Frank Nazar, although he's going to be, I think, down a little bit to the third line tonight. Landon Slaggert's been absolutely tremendous. What did we say? 7 seconds into the game on Saturday against the Florida Panthers. So they're giving him the shot now with Mr. Bedard on the top line along with Donato. So any of those 3, I think, they're live, in my opinion. Find the back of the net here tonight in this game. No question.
Yeah, that goal by Slaggert, that was a franchise record too, fastest goal in Hawks history, which is fascinating to note because the Hawks also have the record for the fastest hat trick in history, and that first goal took place 9 seconds into the game. So the Hawks, I think, now have 2 of the 3 fastest goals scored in NHL history with that.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, next up as we continue along here, final game of this very short Wednesday slate. It's just crazy. We're here doing almost a 2-hour marathon yesterday, 14 games, and now we're going to be out in 40 minutes here, 45 minutes with 3 games today. It's just welcome to the world of the unbalanced NHL schedule, which we've been talking about for years. Montreal and Los Angeles, we got the Kings minus 250 home favorites. The total here sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over here in this game. If you're looking for an under on the card tonight, and I think Bruins Rangers could maybe be an under, even though I think I lean more to goals there, and certainly I think there's goals in Chicago. This could be your under because Montreal, we've talked about how offensively, I know they scored 4 last night, but it kind of felt at times like it was pulling teeth for them to get 4 goals against a miserable San Jose defense, which has been giving up 4 in their sleep, and Alexander Georgiev, who's had a terrible season, and even then, it looked like a team that struggled to get to those 4 goals. And now you've got Montreal on a back-to-back here. coming off that win. It was a huge win for Montreal. They needed it. They needed to stop the bleeding. They needed to win against one of the worst teams in the West to get themselves at least off the schneid, snap that 5-game losing streak. But it wasn't a convincing victory. They still got outshot 30-20. Like I said, they didn't get on the board until the second period of that game. There's still some issues right now with the Montreal Canadiens at the moment. Not ready to trust them on a back-to-back here on the road against Los Angeles, who are coming. They are coming off a 5-game road trip, LA, but they didn't play well on it. They only went 1-4 on that road trip. They did win the last game of the trip against Carolina 4-2, but now all of a sudden, and it is off a long road trip back home, but here's the good news. 3 full days off since their last game on Saturday. So they have had certainly opportunity to get their body clocks reset, re-engaged, back to the Pacific time zone again. It's not like they're throwing LA back home after the road trip, 48 hours or after the final game. No, they've had some time now to really, get comfortable again back at home. And we know this has been one of the better home teams in the NHL all season. 15-3-1 at Crypto.com Arena for the LA Kings this season. So we'll see if that home dominance continues. They have owned Montreal, by the way. 7 straight victories and 8 of the last 10 for the Kings over the Montreal Canadiens. The games in LA, 5-2, 3-2, 4-0 victories for the Kings here in LA the last 3 times they've played Montreal. It's been a dead nuts under series as well. 8-1-1 to the under in the last 10 meetings between these two teams. So right now, Eileen, I don't know if the minus 250, I can't get. I'm not touching LA, but I certainly think they do win this game. I don't love the draw either because we haven't seen many games go to overtime between these two teams historically. Maybe Montreal does wrangle them into a tight game. The one thing I'll say about the Kings is prior to that Carolina game, their offense had gone ice cold. So if that comes back to the forefront here tonight, then maybe this is a tight game with some chance to go to overtime. We'll see. But the under 5.5 does make sense to me, especially because Montreal is going to be throwing their very impressive young rookie goaltender at LA tonight, Jakub Dobeš, who's going to get the start tonight because it's a back-to-back. It was obviously Montembeault last night in San Jose, and Dobeš's numbers are still terrific overall. I know there's been a couple games lately where he's looked a little humanized, hasn't been nearly like that brick wall that he was the first few starts. He's given up 4s and 3s in each of his last 3 starts. But the numbers overall are still pretty good. 5-1-1, 2.1 goals against, 927 save percentage for Jakub Dobeš this season. We do expect Darcy Kemper in net for LA. Why wouldn't it be? He's obviously the superior goalie, and they've been off since Saturday. So we expect Dobeš and Kemper to be the goalie matchup. Lean under. I think the under's worth a bet. And even I might bet this under. And, I'm starting to get a little more, even my shit track record with unders, I'm saying, don't be scared. Scared money don't make money, as they say. If you like an under, bet it. And I think this is a low-scoring game. Alex, what do you think here? Montreal, LA.
I say no reason to be scared, as we used to say back home. But I am on the draw here. I think this is a fantastic draw spot.
Okay.
You got the Habs on the second of back-to-backs, and I know Mikey's got a little trend that kind of correlates with that. He sent us in our chat. But I think this is going to be kind of a low and slow game. Like you said, it plays toward the under. You got 2 quality goalies. Jakub Dobeš, I'm not going to say he's a top-tier quality goalie just yet, but he's played very well in all of his starts, even the one that he lost. He's already had 1 game go past regulation. We know Darcy Kemper is very solid as well. These both these teams, you look at their just previous games, they look like teams that are kind of ready for this break to hit. They've like I said, got wins in their last game, but then they snapped some losing streaks. Cross conference teams just want to get points. Certainly Montreal get all the points they possibly can. So I think this is a game, and I got it plus 365 over at Bet Online. I'm going with the draw here.
All right, liking the draw here with Montreal and LA for Alex with the Habs and the Kings. Mikey, what about you here? Montreal, Los Angeles.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Jakub Dobeš, 3 out of his last 5 overtime. It looks like they went to overtime.
Stat. Really? Wow. Yeah. You're right. Actually, you're right. I'm looking at it now. And one thing I want to point out about Dobeš, yes, the numbers lately haven't been as good. A lot of the starts lately have been at home for him. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's jitters of, the mystique of the Montreal Canadiens and playing in front of that Bell Center crowd where sometimes you're just so amped up that, and excited and looking forward to it that maybe you don't play your absolute best. Maybe you're not quite as relaxed because you look at the four goals and the 3 goals. They were all his home starts to the Rangers, to the Devils, and to the Wild. On the road before that, that's where this guy was looking like Marty Brodeur, on the road. And now he gets back out on the road tonight for this start because you look at the road numbers for Dobish. 1 goal allowed to Dallas, 2 goals allowed to Washington, 1 goal allowed to Colorado, the shutout against Florida. Those were all on the road. And he played really, really, really well for the Montreal Canadiens on the road. So maybe now that they're back on the road, Mikey, he's going to have one of his better games again.
Yeah, he's definitely played a little bit better on the road. So I see where Alex is coming from. And also Kemper has been excellent at home. I'll go over his numbers here in a second. But it seems like the Kings have been on the road for over a month now. And then I checked and they pretty much have. From January 10th through the 18th, they were on the road, came back for only 2 home games, then back on the road again from January 25th to February 1st. But it's home sweet home now for LA because the next 6 games are at home. And they don't leave LA until Friday the 28th. I believe they head to Dallas. They've also had a full 3 days off, if I'm not mistaken, between their last game, so they should be ready to go. But the Kings have done nothing lately to deserve to be huge favorites like this. 3-7 in their last 10, and they've just been too inconsistent to be priced like this. But now that they're finally home for an extended period of time, maybe they build some positive play. I mean, one thing that has been consistent about this LA team is they're 15-3 at home. So that's one department that they've certainly been consistent in. But these are the prices on Montreal where you want to back them. But they also haven't been playing well, and they needed a last-minute shorty yesterday to beat the Sharks. So I really want to take Montreal at this price, but I'm probably going to stay away. Kemper, 7-1-1 at home this year, 929 save percentage, 187 goals against. He's been pretty much a brick wall in net at home. So right now I got nothing on this one.
There we go. Nothing on this one for Mikey on Montreal and LA. You're right about the numbers for Kemper at home. You know what's funny about these 2 goalies starting tonight? Kemper's been amazing at home. The numbers are off the charts for him at home. The numbers are off the charts and better for Dobish on the road. Yeah. So you've got both of these guys in their better home road split, if you will, for this game tonight.
Yeah,
which is why I like the under.
I would more likely probably going to be on the under as well. But like I said, that's why I like draw. You got these 2 goalies going up against each other, and also Habs. Like I said, last 3 spots where the second leg of back-to-back, all those games have gone past regulation.
So here's the thing, and Sniffy Healer, that's a pretty interesting name there, Sniffy Healer 333. He says, I'll be purchasing my subscription to Patreon sometime this week. And that is great to hear. And that's a call out to everyone else that is not a Patreon member yet. Get on board, just $10 per month. And over the 4 Nations face-off break, we're going to be looking at some new features. And that's one of them I've been thinking of for a long time, some kind of Patreon chat or some kind of way we can post live bets nightly on the Patreon page for members. So we are definitely going to be incorporating. That's definitely something we're going to be looking at integrating post 4 Nations break when the NHL returns. And that's obviously we do that already in our Twitter X group DM. And I'm also going to be starting to post some of those live bets that I share with our group DM people on just the regular Twitter X, post them. I'm going to start doing that, especially when I have nights like last night. It's like, geez, let's let some of the people take advantage of this.
And we will start using some hashtags for that as well. Yeah. Ice Guys Live is the hashtag that more than likely we will start putting with our live bets whenever we do post them on X or post them, even if we post them through Patreon. But Ice Guys Live will be the hashtag that we will be using for those wagers.
There you go. Exactly. And like I said, we're definitely going to be looking at doing some of that stuff for our Patreon members post 4 Nations face-off break. I think you guys have twisted my arm enough to take a little small bet on that draw as well with the Habs and the Kings tonight. So I'll add a small draw bet. And then, like I said, already on the under here with the Habs and the Kings tonight. There's not really much to say as far as goal props. I do want to just draw attention to maybe Armia. Armia's got a little something going. He's got goals in back-to-back games for Montreal. Alex Newhook is someone that started to step up for them. And then on the LA side, I always, as long as he stays on the top line, Alex Turcotte is someone that we are interested in as far as a goal prop on the Kings side of the equation. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Again, tomorrow night, it is another Patreon exclusive Ice Guys live betcast. Thursday night, tomorrow night, February the 6th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're really looking forward to it. It's a great Thursday night of NHL action coming up. What are some of the highlight games? Washington, Philly's an interesting game. Ottawa, Tampa Bay, Vegas, New Jersey, Carolina, Minnesota, Florida, St. Louis, Colorado, Calgary, and then 2 late games, Toronto, Seattle, Vancouver, San Jose. So it's Macklin celebrating. He's at home, but he's playing against, obviously, the team he cheered for growing up in Vancouver, the Canucks. So a good card tomorrow night. Looking forward to it. 7 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, February 6th. Again, we've been having a lot of success the last few nights with these second period over and goal in the first 10 parlay bets. We'll try to put some of those into action tomorrow night on the live bet. I had a plus 750 with Edmonton last night, which, like I said, that was a great timing with that. So, like I said, live betcast tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And to watch it, you must be a Patreon member. And to join us on the stream, you also must be a Patreon member for the betcast tomorrow night. So make sure you get on board. Just $10 per month. Again, you're going to get access to all our exclusive live betcasts, including the betcast tomorrow night, goalie charts, totals charts, our daily betting cards, sides, totals, and player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page, as well as more bonus content, Players Suite interview series shows. We'll be having more of those closer to playoff time on the Patreon page. All that and more, just $10 per month. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show. So just $10 per month. Get on board now so you can be there for the betcast tomorrow night. Patreon.com/IceGuys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got everything in stock except for one of the coffee mugs. So that's the one thing I checked today. But everything else fully in stock, and you have until midnight Eastern to get free standard shipping. Go to the homepage, click on the redeem button, add everything to your cart, and free standard shipping will be available to you at checkout. So that's until midnight Eastern tonight. Free standard shipping at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, check out the Ice Guys store. Great gear and merch there. Indeed. All right, we got Bargain Bin Special of the night. Best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgater Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. at 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Wednesday. 3 games to choose from, but there's a lot to like, really, in a couple of these games with the bargain bin. Alex, what do you like tonight, bargain bin special?
I got a couple of bargain bins tonight. Both of them you can watch on TNT if you're here in the States. We'll go with that first game. It's Boston against New York. And we talked about how JT Miller has done very well for the New York Rangers, but I think one of his line mates is going to benefit from his presence there. I like Mika Zibanejad to score a goal, the first goal of the game. Plus 1,600 available at DraftKings. I see a plus 1,300 available at FanDuel as well. So Mika Zibanejad, first goal of the game for the New York Rangers. That's bargain bin play number one. Bargain bin play number two comes from the Chicago game against Edmonton, which starts right after that. We're going with Landon Slaggert on that top line. He said getting some time with Bedard and Donato. I think that line's going to gel. I think that might be a line we could see kind of stick around for a while, maybe through the rest of the season. Landon Slaggert, I don't know if he's going to score in 7 seconds, but I just need him to get a goal anytime. Plus 500 available at DraftKings with that. So we're going with Mika Zibanejad first goal plus 1,600. Landon Slaggert anytime goal plus 500. Those are my two TNT bargain bin specials for this Thursday night.
And they're good ones. I know Slaggert's going to be on my prop card tonight as well for Chicago, no question. And Mika Zibanejad first goal as well for the New York Rangers for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. Mikey, bargain bin special of the night. What do you got?
Yep, heading to Chicago too. Teuvo Teravainen, anytime goal plus 390. 3 goals, 3 assists against Edmonton this year. Second line, PP1, second on the team in points, 11 goals, 23 assists. So I don't know what it is against Edmonton this year, but I'll take a shot for him to score at plus 390.
All right, there you have it. Teuvo Teravainen with great numbers, great track record against Edmonton. Teuvo Teravainen for the Chicago Blackhawks, for Mikey with his bargain bin special of the night, plus 380 is what you can find for him right now. My bargain bin special of the night, I'm just got one tonight, but it's going to be from that same game, Corey Perry. We're going to take him here tonight. Corey Perry plus 430 is the best price out there for him at Betano. For this game, it's $350 at PointsBet, $350 at Bet365, $390 at FanDuel. So shop around, but plus 430 at Betano. Corey Perry for the Edmonton Oilers, still playing with McDavid and Draisaitl, should have an opportunity, and a former team angle in play as well. So Corey Perry plus 430 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bet for this Wednesday. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
Well, I can't give you guys the Hawks first period over because this thing is just astronomically high. You got to wait for that end game, but I do love that play quite a bit. So where we're going for the show best bet is with that Montreal-LA draw. You can get plus 365 available at Bet Online, plus 369, which is my lucky number, available at Pinnacle. I like this game to be low and slow, and we've seen 3 of the last situations where the second leg of a back-to-back for the Habs, that game has gone past regulation. So give me Montreal-LA draw, plus 365. That is my best bet.
There you go. Montreal-Los Angeles draw for Alex B. Smith, plus 365 for his best bet for this Wednesday card. Mikey, best bet. What do you got?
Yeah, I also love the Chicago first period over, but it is getting up there in price. So my recommendation is first period over 2 at plus 130. But I'm just going to go with Chicago to score a goal in the first period at minus 120. Best bet.
There you go. That's a good one. Chicago to get a goal in the first period for Mikey here with his best bet for this Wednesday NHL card. My best bet for this card, I'm just trying to see. Let me see. It was going to be Edmonton, Chicago first period. Oh, you know what? Bet 365. I'm shocked it's still at this price there, minus 140. Wow. Okay. That's about as good as you can find anywhere right now with that, because there's a lot of books that have 150 and 160. As long as it's below my threat, if it's at a price that I would bet it, we'll make it a best bet. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And it's at a price that I can bet there, minus 140. So we will go with it. One of the best streaks going in the NHL. 17 of the last 19 for Chicago. 11 of the last 13 for Edmonton, first period over. 10 straight Cal Pickard starts have gone over in the first period. That we'll make that our best bet. Edmonton, Chicago, over 1.5, minus 140, first period for my best bet for this Wednesday. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We can't wait. It's a huge Thursday coming up, big card, and the betcast tomorrow night. So again, make sure you join us for that, and you join us for that by becoming a Patreon member. Sign up at the Patreon page to be there for the betcast tomorrow night, $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex P. Smith and for Mikey, who did a great job joining us these last 2 days, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And make sure you're here with us for a huge Thursday daily show at 2 p.m. Eastern, Patreon exclusive live betcast tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, a big Thursday coming your way right here on the Ice Guys.